He laid hands on the wrong person and touched what he should never have touched.
Pastor Chinedu was a respected man in the community of Umuocha. His sermons carried authority, his prayers shook the church, and his supposed holiness earned him admiration. Women brought sick children to him, men knelt before him for blessing, and elders consulted him for guidance. But beneath the holy robe he wore, a dangerous weakness lived in his heart, and that weakness led him into the arms of Amaka, the beautiful daughter of the dreaded native doctor, Okonkwo-Ophia. Amaka was innocent, gentle, and often misunderstood because of her father's spiritual background. The pastor had been counseling her spiritually, or so the church believed. But their secret meetings turned into something sinful, a forbidden intimacy that neither of them could escape. They hugged longer than they should. They spoke of things no pastor should discuss with another man's daughter. And soon, temptation swallowed them both. The pastor promised it would remain their secret forever. Little did he know, he had already stepped on a spiritual landmine. Weeks passed, and Amaka began to change. She vomited at random times, grew weaker, and her stomach slowly rose. Fear gripped her, for she knew the meaning of her condition. Her heart raced any time she remembered her father, a man who spared no one who wronged him. Pastor Chinedu, on hearing the news from her trembling lips, nearly collapsed. Sweat poured from his face as guilt, fear, and regret tangled inside him. He begged Amaka to stay calm. He promised money. He promised secrecy. He promised marriage. But he forgot one thing. The truth never hides forever. The spirit world does not tolerate secrets drenched in sin. And in that village, news never traveled by mouth alone. Spirits carried whispers faster than humans. Native Dr. Okonkwo-Ophia was no ordinary traditionalist. He was feared throughout several villages. With red beads hanging from his neck, cowries around his wrist, and eyes that seemed to pierce into souls, he could sense spiritual disturbances before they happened. One night, as he sat before his shrine, the flames from his ritual fire changed color, and a powerful wind rose out of nowhere. A voice whispered to him from the spirits of the ancestors. It called Amaka's name. It revealed betrayal. It revealed shame. It revealed that a man of God had dishonored his lineage. Rage filled his heart. His pride had been wounded, not by an ordinary man, but by one who claimed to be holy. Okonkwo vowed that the pastor would taste the wrath of the gods. He summoned Amaka, and under powerful spiritual pressure, the truth spilled from her lips. The earth shook in his heart as the name, Pastor Chinedu, echoed through his compound. That night, Okonkwo did not sleep. He began preparing a deadly trap. Instead of storming to the church to confront the pastor, Okonkwo smiled. A cold, dangerous smile. He decided to destroy him slowly, spiritually, emotionally, and publicly. He began by visiting the church the next Sunday, dressed humbly, like a seeker of salvation. The church members whispered, never in history had a native doctor stepped foot inside a church. But Pastor Chinedu, seeing him, nearly choked on fear. Okonkwo pretended to repent. He clapped, sang, danced, and even sowed a fat offering. He knelt and asked the pastor to pray for him. The pastor placed his trembling hand on him, unaware that in that moment, a powerful spiritual exchange took place. What the pastor thought was deliverance was actually the sealing of a curse upon himself. A trap had begun. Strange things began happening to Pastor Chinedu. His once powerful prayers suddenly lacked fire. His fasting yielded no results. Demons he once commanded now laughed at him in tormenting dreams. His church members began falling sick mysteriously. The choir collapsed one rehearsal evening without explanation. Instead of miracles, misfortune started visiting anyone close to him. He started seeing shadows in his room. He heard cries in the night. Sometimes he woke up with strange marks on his body. Every time he tried to call on God, a strange voice whispered, "You touched what you should not touch." The guilt of his sin became chains dragging him deeper into spiritual darkness. Church attendance dropped. Rumors spread. Respect turned into silent suspicion. And Okonkwo watched from afar with satisfaction. His trap was working perfectly. Amaka could no longer hide her pregnancy. Her stomach now stood boldly like a testimony of disgrace. Women began whispering. Youths stared and laughed. Questions spread like wildfire. Who is responsible? Elders demanded. Under pressure, Amaka cried bitterly and finally shouted the truth. It is Pastor Chinedu. The village erupted. The church exploded in shock. The holy man had committed the ultimate abomination, impregnating the daughter of a native doctor. Elders summoned him. Church leaders confronted him. His wife fainted upon hearing it. His entire spiritual image crumbled in seconds. The church courtyard overflowed with angry villagers. Women cursed loudly. Men shook their heads in disappointment. Even children pointed fingers. The once honored pastor now stood broken, shivering, and ashamed. When Okonkwo walked into the gathering with calm steps, silence fell. His voice thundered like lightning as he declared judgment. He swore that Pastor Chinedu would suffer a fate worse than death. He vowed the child would never be born peacefully. He declared that the pastor's life would become a living torment until he crawled before him. The ancestors, he said, had spoken, and the village believed him. From that day forward, Pastor Chinedu lost peace completely. Snakes appeared in his dreams, wrapping around his neck. He heard babies crying in his ears whenever he prayed. Shadows followed him even under the sun. He began talking to himself. He grew thinner. His clothes became loose. His eyes turned red like someone possessed. Doctors found nothing wrong medically. Prophets avoided him. Fellow pastors refused to help, calling him cursed. Even his church members abandoned him, saying he had offended a spirit stronger than him. His life became a theater of torment. Desperate, broken, and trembling, Pastor Chinedu swallowed his pride and decided to seek help. He visited prayer mountains, traveled to distant churches, and begged powerful men of God to deliver him. But any time they prayed, a mighty invisible force attacked them. Some collapsed. Some bled from the nose. Others warned him never to return. At last, one elderly prayer prophet told him plainly, "This is not ordinary attack. You offended a covenant family. You touched the fruit of a shrine. Only the one you offended can set you free." Those words crushed Pastor Chinedu more than any demon ever could. He knew where he must go, but fear chained his legs. After sleepless nights and endless terror, Pastor Chinedu finally gathered courage. With trembling footsteps, he walked toward Okonkwo's compound. Every tree seemed to whisper judgment. Every wind carried the echo of spirits mocking him. When he arrived, he knelt immediately, tears flooding his face. Pride died. Ego vanished. Shame consumed him. Okonkwo did not look surprised. He had been expecting him. His laughter echoed like thunder. "You came too late," he said coldly. "The gods have already taken their price." But his daughter cried and begged her father to show mercy. The unborn child kicked painfully in her womb, as if reacting to the spiritual tension. Mercy in the spiritual world does not come cheap. Okonkwo declared that for the pastor to live, he must publicly confess, financially take responsibility for Amaka, and perform a cleansing ritual that would strip him of his pastoral authority forever. The pastor wept bitterly. Not only was his ministry gone, his dignity was demanded as sacrifice. He agreed. He confessed publicly. He sold his car and properties to care for Amaka and her unborn child. And then came the ritual, one that would permanently humble him. He was bathed with bitter herbs under the scorching sun while villagers watched. His pastoral robe was burned before his eyes, symbolizing the end of his spiritual reign. But the spirits were not yet satisfied. That night, a fierce spiritual battle erupted. Thunder roared without rain. Wind screamed through the village. The shrine fire burned blue. Pastor Chinedu screamed in agony as unseen forces tore at his soul. Okonkwo chanted incantations while Amaka cried helplessly. At the peak of the night, the ancestor spirit appeared in the shrine flame, declaring judgment. A man of God should live holy. Whoever wears light must not dance with darkness. The spirit demanded one last sacrifice, humility and lifetime accountability. Morning finally came. Pastor Chinedu opened his eyes and realized the torment had lifted. For the first time in months, silence felt peaceful. The shadows disappeared. The voices stopped. He breathed deeply without fear. He was free, but not the same man anymore. His pride died forever that night. He apologized deeply again, not for fear this time, but genuine remorse. Okonkwo nodded silently. The gods had punished enough. Amaka finally smiled slightly. Peace returned to Umuocha village. Months later, Amaka went into labor. The night was tense. Many feared the baby would be born cursed. But instead, something miraculous happened. A quiet calm filled the air. The child was born healthy, strong, and peaceful. No thunder, no spirits, no curse. The native doctor looked at the child and felt something he had never felt before, compassion. The child represented pain, shame, and yet, destiny. Pastor Chinedu never returned to the pulpit. Instead, he lived humbly, serving the community quietly. He helped the poor, supported widows, and raised the child like his own flesh and blood. The scandal became history, but the lesson remained alive. He had fallen into a deadly trap, not because of the native doctor, but because of his own weakness, pride, and secret sin. The gods did not destroy him, they humbled him. And sometimes, humility is a stronger punishment than death. The village never forgot the story. Children grew hearing it as a warning. Elders repeated it as wisdom. And the land of Umuocha learned that when light tries to flirt with darkness, consequences will always come. And sometimes, they walk with the voice of spirits.